Hello, and welcome to the Godly Playroom. This is a huge time in the year of the church. Tomorrow we celebrate Pride Sunday and the beginning of Pride Week, but it is also Pentecost, that time of fire and flame. And so a little bit later we're going to get to go into that red box. The calendar tells us it is the time for the color red. And the banner has changed. And there's something we're going to have to do here even before we're ready. Well, maybe let's just take a moment and settle ourselves before we change the colors on the focal shelf. There's still some Easter here. I wonder what you need to help you be ready today. Perhaps a few deep breaths. Maybe you want to settle in to your comfy chair or some pillow on the floor on your bed. Maybe you're even watching this outside. The weather has been so much more better for doing that. You might like to get a candle to light, whether that's a flame candle with matches, if you're okay to do that, or a battery operated one. You might want to have some things ready for your response, some art materials that will help you enter the story more deeply. Perhaps you'll want to have something for feast too. Doesn't have to be a lot. I think I just have a muffin and a glass of water today. You can pause the video at any time if you need to take some time to get things ready. So let's take a deep breath. Maybe another one. I've been enjoying being able to take deep breaths without starting to cough or being all stuffed up in my head. And I may need to blow my nose from time to time during our session today, so I'll apologize for that. Well, I think I want to change the colors here even before we light our candle. So, we have been in the time of the color white. And so when we change the colors, we remember the people in the Holy Family. Mother Mary and Father Joseph, without whom the baby might not have been born. And that baby with his arms open wide to give you a hug. There was the donkey that Mary rode on her way to Bethlehem. And the cow that was so surprised to wake up on that first Christmas morning and find a baby in a manger instead of her breakfast. There were the angels who sang about the good news. And the shepherds keeping watch over their flocks in the fields around Bethlehem. And then the Magi, the wise ones from the east. And of course, the risen Christ, whose arms are open wide to give the whole world a hug. So we'll just set this down. We can take the white color. Sometimes we use gold in Easter. And we'll put it at the bottom of the pile. And then we'll bring out the red. always a little tricky to get it in under the Good Shepherd. So if you need help to do that part, remember to ask. The risen Christ. And the Magi who come from so far away, they're often late. And the shepherds and sheep and angel who shared that first good news. The cow and the donkey. I kind of like that the good news comes to the creatures as well as the people. And that little baby with his arms open wide to give you a hug. And the Mother Mary who said yes to God, and without whom the baby might not have been born. And the Father Joseph who said yes to God and to Mary, and who loved that baby like his own. So, the colors are ready. Are you ready? We remember that once there was someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things. The people wanted to be around him. And the more they were around, the more they wondered who he was. And so one day they just had to ask, "Who are you?" And one time, when they asked him that question, he said, "I am the light." And the light grows whenever it's shared. I'm going to put the candle back up here on the shelf and get reset for the story with the camera, and you're welcome to join us back here in a minute. If you need to pause the video and get your art materials ready, or your feast things, or your own candle, feel free to do so. Welcome back. Are you ready for a story? You'll find this story on the Pentecost shelf, which is just before you get to Advent and Christmas, when we're back in the Godly Playroom. It is the time of the color red. This story looks like a parable. It's in a box with a lid that is closed, but it's red. So maybe it's like a parable, but not like a parable? I think we need to open it and see what might be inside. What do you think? Oh, there is something in here. And it's also red. It's red all over, on both sides. There's always another side to a parable. I wonder if there's another side to this story. I wonder what it could be. Part of a rainbow? A big splash of poppies in a field. There are other things in the box, but nothing else to help us get ready for this story. Well, I guess all we can do is begin. Once, there was a great tower. The people who were working on the tower all spoke the same language as they worked together. But as the tower got taller, they began to talk in different ways. They wanted to build a tower to heaven. They began to think they were better builders than God. Each group thought they were better than the other groups. It became a huge noise. It didn't really sound like talking anymore. It was so confusing and loud. It sounded like they were babbling. And then the tower fell down on its own. All the languages of the people of the earth were shattered and broken into pieces. Each piece was still beautiful, but it was not like when they talked all together in the old way. Thousands of years passed. Jesus was born. And he lived. And did his work. And died on a cross, which was sad. But his friends discovered that he wasn't really gone. Somehow, they kept meeting him in new ways. They felt that he was still with them, just as he is with us today. And then one day, something amazing happened. The disciples were in Jerusalem. Here they are. There was Mary and Peter, James and John and Andrew, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, and James the Less, Simon and Jude. Judas was no longer with them. Jesus took them outside the city to a hillside, perhaps called Olivet. And then Jesus went up, and the Holy Spirit came down. The 11 disciples went back into the city to wait. They were full of joy. And they went to the temple to pray. On Sunday, they gathered in the upper room, and with God's help, they decided that Matthias would take Judas' place. The 12 gathered often, and one day when they were gathered, suddenly there was the sound like a mighty wind rushing in to be with them. It was the Holy Spirit, and they became so full of power that it felt like they were on fire. Their tongues burned in their mouths. They ran down into the street to tell the story. They were so excited that people wondered what was going on. There were people there from many different countries. They spoke many different languages, but everyone could understand what they were saying. Everyone could see that the 12 had come close to God, and God had come close to them in a new way. The disciples had become apostles, and they went out into all the world to tell the story. They wanted to tell everyone the story of God's love made known in Jesus. This was the first Christian Pentecost. But it's not the end of the story. It's still happening. Wherever people have the courage to tell the story, whenever they talk about the parables or the stories of Jesus, it's still happening. It's like fire. I wonder what you liked best about this story. I wonder what the most important part of this story is. I wonder if there's any part of this story we could leave out and still have all the story that we need. I wonder what part of this story is most like you. Where you are in this story. I'm going to put the story away now. And you can begin to think about what you might like to do with art materials in response to this story. There's Mary. And Simon, Peter. And James. And John. And Andrew. And Bartholomew. And Matthew. And Jude. And James the Less. And Simon the Zealot. Oh. And Matthias, who was chosen to replace Jesus. Philip and Thomas. That room where they gathered looks a little bit like something in a parable story. And this great big red reminds us the fire and the flame of Pentecost. I'm going to put the story away and get out my art materials, and I'll see you back here in a moment. Welcome back. I wonder what you found around your home. I couldn't make up my mind today, so I think we'll see what happens when the Spirit comes, or how we are moved. I found some water and paint and some cleanup stuff and a little bit of tissue paper and some of the watercolor crayons and a pencil in case I need to draw something, and some crayons. And I'm gonna start just putting some water on the paper. Maybe that's a good thing to do if we're going to be playing with fire. Start with some red. Our underlay. Oh, I'm getting speckles already. Well, let's do that because I like having speckles. It's a curious story. A story about Pentecost. Hard to imagine what it was like to be in that house or in the city of Jerusalem, to hear that sound of the wind, and then to hear all those people speaking in languages that weren't their own, but in ways that people could understand them. It's part of what I love about the festival of Pentecost. is it invites us to see something invisible, like the wind of the Holy Spirit, but to make it visible in the way we talk to each other, in the words we say, and particularly in how we share the story of Jesus. Those first disciples, I mean, some people thought they were drunk. The way they were talking. But they didn't let the other people's criticism change sharing a message. I wonder if there's been times where other people have criticized you or thought your ideas just were too far out. And I wonder what's helped you still tell your story. Have that sparkle, right? The Spirit, like the wind, is invisible until it moves people. And that's part of our challenge as disciples, is we need to tell the stories. We need to help others come close to God. And sometimes it's easy to get sidetracked. It works better if I put it on the pencil first and then the glue. I wonder sometimes what might have happened if the disciples had just stayed locked away, more afraid of the fire, the loud noise, and the flame, than encouraged by it. I think the church is coming to a place and a time where we need some of that passion and energy of Pentecost. some of that boldness to risk going out and telling others there is something amazing happening. Whenever people work together, whenever we listen to one another, maybe even we risk looking a little bit foolish for God. Oh, that's hard to do sometimes. I don't like it when people laugh at me, unless I'm telling a joke. But I do believe there is something amazing about the gospel. And I've seen it change lives. People have been willing to step out of their comfort zone. Help somebody else in a different way. Maybe it starts by us listening and being ready. Kind of like a godly play session. We may need to learn a different language. I'm not sure the Spirit is going to come upon me and teach me Spanish overnight. But I could still learn how to say thank you, or welcome, please. Did you know that not all languages have the word for please? Some indigenous languages don't. And there is simply an understanding in those cultures that everything is meant to be shared. Which isn't so different how the early Christian church started out. We'll hear about that in the coming weeks a little bit. We get into the book of Acts. We talk about the disciples gathering to pray and sharing everything in common. People would really think we were crazy, probably. Doesn't mean it's a bad idea. I wonder how you will come close to the Spirit. I wonder what God might be moving in you and through you to share the good news. I'm going to clean up my materials, a little bit of mess that I have here, and get ready for some feast time. You can pause the video if you need to, and come on back whenever you're ready. Welcome back. I have my feast ready to go, and I wonder what you have to share. Did you remember to wash or sanitize your hands? Something I'm finding harder and harder to remember to do as I spend more time out of doors. I wonder if you went outside for your response time and just listened to the wind, or perhaps sat around a fire. Lots of different ways to experience the Spirit. But before we share in our feast, let's offer up our prayers. Sometimes we speak them, sometimes we offer them in silence, sometimes we sing them. And I feel like singing a little bit today, oddly enough. So it's quite simple. It's the Spirit in me greets the Spirit in you. Alleluia. God is in us and we are in God. Alleluia. And this is what it sounds like. The Spirit in me greets the Spirit in you. Alleluia. God is in us and we are in God. Alleluia. The Spirit in me greets the Spirit in you. Alleluia. God is in us and we are in God. Alleluia. Thank you, God, for the gifts of the Spirit, for your presence, for coming to know you in new ways. Give us courage to share your good news wherever we go. Amen. I think I need a little bit of water. Every now and then that hand sanitizer catches my voice the wrong way. So I wonder where you've been noticing the Spirit at work lately. Like the wind, it's just not always easy to see. But just because we can't see something doesn't mean it isn't there. I often notice the Spirit when people come together to do or to work on a project together or pray together. Sometimes that loud rushing noise is heard when we are in silent prayer together. It's almost like the whole building is just humming with God's energy. When I hear the laughter of the folks and the volunteers who are working in the community kitchen, there's another sign of the Spirit. And even though it's hard work and hot and sweaty work and they're standing on their feet on pavement, there's still a kind of energy there because they're cooking meals for other people. And that's something that is just so special. Maybe the Spirit's been at work in you. Maybe it's moved you to volunteer to help rake a yard or mow a lawn for somebody, clean up your room or do the recycling. Maybe you felt like volunteering or getting outside and looking after the earth, maybe picking up some of the garbage that's blown around from time to time. Perhaps you've encountered the Spirit in a pride parade. There's a whole nother energy there. And it is so good for everybody's spirits to know that they are someplace safe and in good company and just celebrating and able to be who they are. Lives change when we are known for who we are and loved and accepted. That's part of the work of the Spirit too. And sometimes even when we don't fully understand or like all those different languages, simply gathering together in the spirit of love helps bring an understanding that goes beyond any words we speak. So I will pray that for you and for me, that the Spirit continues to move amongst us all in ways that builds understanding and encourages us to be outspoken advocates for love. Well, it is almost time for the Spirit to move me right on out of this room and into something else. But thank you for taking the time to hear a story, to wonder within yourself or your household, to see where you might come close to God and God come close to you in a new way. And let's change the light together. The light is just in this one place and time. But when we change it, it will spread out and fill this room. It will find its way to wherever you are. Even when it gets so thin that no one can see it anymore, we know it's still there. So watch carefully. Some people miss this part. Not yet. God bless. Be well and look after one another. Until we meet again.